Go live now.
Yay,
Right.
we are live.
Woo!
Welcome, everybody, to what is going to be the final episode for a little while of Positively Unready. I'm Dan Gunther. With me, with glue on his shoe, is Barry DeFord. Barry, how's it going?
Doing all right. I'm out in the middle of the Canadian wilderness right now. As you'll notice, I'm literally in a cabin, and the internet may come and go just because, like, there may be a deer out there chewing on the wires. Because yeah, I don't think I could do it. I can't turn the camera, but they're literally like there are deer right there. So yeah, no, I am in the Nexus right now. Captain Kirk is chopping wood just a little ways away. It's great.
Nice. Help him find the dillweed for the Katarian eggs, and if he comes in asking for that.
Hey,
It's winter,
guys,
so we won't see
dill,
much of that.
dill is delicious with eggs. I mean,
I-
it's really good.
I know. I'm assuming that's why Kirk was putting it on his eggs.
Yeah, it's
It's
really,
underrated.
I put dill in a lot of stuff. It's so good.
Absolutely. Brandi,
Yeah.
other than biological urgency knocking on your door, how are you doing?
Well, despite the state of this nation, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. And just glad to be here. Glad I have Star Trek for now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. For those of you listening on the podcast, by the way, if you've never tuned into the YouTube live show, we always have little nicknames at the bottom of our screen. So I was referring to Brandi has I think I have to pee from Cadet Live as her name. Barry with glue on his shoe DeFord, and I have Dan show me pretty streaks of light Gunther. That's what we're referring to. It occurs to me sometimes when I'm doing the edit on the audio version that we're talking about some visual stuff sometimes that you don't necessarily see unless you join us on YouTube, which you should do. And in the show notes on the podcast, there's always a link to this. So if you do want to watch it on YouTube, definitely go and click that. But we are live right now in the Unready Room on YouTube. Thank you, everybody who's live with us, joining us. I see a lot of the regulars. Thank you so much. And of course, to everyone who is listening and watching later, we appreciate you as well. And thank you for joining us. And we are talking about the season 1 finale of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, a title that when the screeners arrived, weeks ago, I saw the title and I thought, I really hope that's not a typo, but there's a possibility it was in my mind. The title is Rubincon, but if you've watched this episode, you know that is not a typo. That is actually the title of this episode for plot reasons. Which I'm thankful for, A, because they didn't mess that up in the screeners, and B, it's the Rubicon is the title of a Discovery episode, and they've only ever done that once, where they had the exact same title for 2 episodes, and I don't want them to do that again. Think of unique titles, which they did.
Well done. You had us fooled.
You did indeed.
Actually, I didn't think it was a
didn't
typo. You didn't notice? You just read it as Rubicon, didn't you?
Yeah, I glanced and I'm like, okay, cool, play. Oh, and then later I was like, wait, what? Oh, I get this now. Okay, yeah, makes sense now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rubincon, from a story by Noga Landau and Gaia Violo, teleplay by Alex Kurtzman and Kirsten Beyer, and directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. And so when I was typing up my notes for this, and I was doing it before the episode had been released widely, so the director wasn't listed anywhere. So I had to load the episode up again to see who the director was. And the credits are a little different in this one because the title shot and stuff. But right before they do Olatunde's credit, they show like the Athena, and then the camera starts twisting, and we go to the bridge, and I was like, oh, this looks like Olatunde, and Olatunde and Sanmi came up, and I'm like, yep, we're twisting the camera again, folks. It's Olatunde.
Twist that camera. Olatunde twist. That's what we call it now.
Oh, the Olatunde twist. That might be the name of this episode.
Excellent. Getting it early on.
Very nice. So yeah, we've come a long way this season, and it's hard to believe that it's already here, like that this is it, and b that the season ended on such a strong note, in my opinion. So
Say,
yeah, I'm kind of curious from the two of you, your experience watching this episode. What are your just kind of initial brash reflections on it, I guess?
you go first, Barry.
Okay. Well, I liked it, and by saying that, there actually are some parts where I was a little like, okay, what I really, really liked, and in fact, like loved, was the crew, I guess you could say, coming together on the bridge, with Jet as their sort of, the teacher on the field trip that went sideways and making the kids have to do stuff is kind of how I felt like that. But I really loved the interplay between them. I loved the problem solving. I loved the tech talk. I loved their interplay as each of their characters kind of did their own thing in a lot of ways, and I really enjoyed that. I loved it. I appreciated all of the bing bang boom stuff. The effects were fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that. I feel like Holly Hunter's motivations in it were really, really strong as Ake. I could see the conflict and I could see the frustration. The only thing that I guess I kind of got frustrated with was the trial itself. I felt that the trial was a little bit outside of Noose Baraka's kind of master planny style of things. I feel like he'd been planning and planning and planning and planning and planning and planning and this. And so I was a little like, oh, okay. I liked the trial, like as it is kind of as a standalone. It sort of confused me in terms of his motivations, where I know what he was trying to do, but given that he is part of, such a ruthless group of people and stuff like that, it really just felt more adequate that he would have just would have just been like, okay, never mind, bang, and kind of been done with it, right? He's a scary human being. He was trying to prove a point, I think, as well as, like, again, a kid with a problem, right? And I think we can get into some of the political points that they make there, but yeah, I don't know. I think on the second watch I felt a little better kind of about it, but when I first watched it, the brash kind of immediate thing was absolutely loved the interplay with the cadets. That was fantastic. It practically made me giddy when Genesis sits in the captain's chair. But yeah, definitely I was a little like, okay, they've got to kind of wrap this up and all that sort of stuff with the trial. But yeah, anyway, that's just kind of where I'm at in all perfect honesty. Still love the episode. Great end to what was a fantastic season. And I think Ricky Leong said 10 episodes is way too short. And I would actually blame it on that, right? They had to clear up a lot of stuff in one final episode. If they could have, stretched out that whole sequence for maybe 3 more episodes, we probably could have gotten into some motivations a little bit more strongly and stuff. But hence is the world of streaming. So there's my opening salvo.
I get what you're saying. I had a completely different take on the trial, frankly, because what I saw was a guy who was airing all of the dirty laundry of the Federation and of Starfleet, or so he thought. And it was actually a very childish thing for him to want to be on camera and broadcasting this to everyone and basically doing this mock trial. It's so childish because in essence, he is still thinking like a child, a very angry child who didn't get a fair lot in life, etc., etc. And now he's going to make everybody pay for what one person did, his own father. And so that's the way I saw it. And I'm like, yeah, of course he's going to do this. Of course he's going to make everybody watch while he makes himself out to be this big, tough guy who's so smart and who knew everything that the Federation was going to do, and he can destroy it anytime he wants, blah, blah, blah. So that's how I saw that. But that's just me, and I'm a very emotional person, and so I'm the one who tunes into the emotions of it, and I know what Noose Baraka is thinking. I know that that mindset. And so that's what I got from it. But I loved this entire episode. There is so much in there that is, I mean, nothing's wasted, in my opinion. Nothing is wasted. Everything is used. Everything connects at the end. Everything that these kids do, along with Reno, saves the frickin' galaxy, really. And
Thanks, Sam.
yeah, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Raimi, for being a good pilot. Because,
Eventually.
yeah, because Reno said, "Oh, he'll make a good pilot," and turns out he does.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, I. This is probably one of my favorite season finales of all of Star Trek. It had a little bit of everything in it. And I just love it. I just love it. I don't know what else to say right now. I'm getting, because I want to talk about the other parts of the story too, but I really loved it. I just was so satisfied. In fact, we just sat there after we had watched the screener and just went, wow, okay, stick in the landing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I felt it was very strong. There's a lot that I loved about it. A little bit here and there that we can talk about, but all in all, like, I really, really enjoyed this finale. I think it struck a really good balance, kind of like I was saying last week, where, it had a lot of those big set pieces that like a season finale tends to have, but I feel like, again, this really balanced it well with the character moments, with the again, a lot of them through that trial, actually, of really having something deeper to say rather than just, big explosions and stuff happening, right? Plot heavy for sure, but also very character heavy, and they somehow managed to, again, just strike that perfect balance. So yeah, I really liked it. Let's get into it, I guess, right? Or sorry, Barry, did you have something there?
Yeah, I would say, like, in terms of setting us up for a very strong second season, I think that's one of the things this episode did. Was it's there's a lot there that we can now work with, especially in terms of character development. The second year is going to be very interesting, especially now that we kind of know the tracks of a lot of the main characters. And they gave them all a lot to do, which I really liked, right? It wasn't just Caleb and his mom and Ake and Noose. The other characters had a lot to do, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that too. The fact that everybody kind of had their little spotlight moment. I like that if your name is not in the main credits, though, like, just like, am I doing anything? No, you're not here. Like, we don't see Occam. It's like, wanted to, go along with them, and they're like, is your name in the opening credits? No, then no, you stay over there. I'm just kidding.
I think it was best that Occam wasn't there, really, because that allowed Tarima to stand on her own and do what needed to be done. And can I just say, I was right about that inhibitor.
Absolutely. Absolutely good call there, for sure. So to start out with, it's really nice to see Laura Thok again. Where the heck has she been the last 3 episodes?
Yeah.
But in that scene that we get with her and Vance on the bridge, I really like that we get a clear outline of what the stakes are. Like, okay, there's all these mines surrounding the Federation. What happens if they blow up? Oh, okay, the Federation's cut off from the rest of the galaxy. No, that's not it. There's 80,000 cubic light years of space that'll be destroyed. And the number they give is 160 billion dead if they detonate. So I like that, like, to start out with, we're getting those very clear stakes. And flash forward to the end of the episode when Noose is hitting that button. Like, what that means. What he intends there. And that's huge. Like, I think that's important. And it's quite a statement.
It shows that he's ready to tear it all down if he loses. And I think we live in a world where there are people who have the capacity to not kill 160 billion, which in my brain is a unfathomable number, but between 7 and 8 billion. I've actually, so I teach social studies, and sometimes the concept of a nuclear exchange comes up. I teach about the Cuban Missile Crisis. I teach about what happened, Able Archer in 1983. And then the consecutive, or the two nuclear accidents of Chernobyl and Fukushima Daiichi. And no, I mean, the capacity to end all life on Earth is literally in the hands of a few people. And if they are, as mentioned, and I know we'll come back to the great quote, but if they are angry children, they'll kick the old sandcastle down if they don't get their way. And that's quite the sandcastle to kick down. So I think actually Noose's little hesitation before he pushes the button, you notice he, like, Paul Giamatti kind of cocks his head a little bit, of like, it's kind of like jumping off a diving board, like you realize that you're just about to end the lives of 160 billion individuals for a grudge. Like, okay, that's a pretty big thing. So yeah,
For
I think the
grudge
stakes
against the wrong person too.
Yeah, and for the wrong reasons, right? A grudge that really has everything to do with pride.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the stakes are established like that, which I appreciated.
No. So at the end of last episode, the Athena had separated, and now they're hiding from Nuspraka and them. Very early in this, we get them catching up with them again. I really liked the ruse of the Doctor creating a holographic decoy of the ship. There's some plot armor there. The shields aren't working, but Jet Reno manages to get them up right at the last second before all of that happens. I mean, I wasn't fooled or anything. Like, they didn't just blow up the ship, and you figured that's what's going on when the Doctor does that. But it was a nice little scene with the Doctor doing that, and some nice member berries with the mobile emitter and stuff that he's held on to for almost 1,000 years, that like came back in time to 1996 from the 29th century, then back forward to the 24th, and then that mobile emitter's had a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the cadets are being hidden. Their new Spraka doesn't know they're there. Can I say also an episode in which we get, Paul Giamatti, Holly Hunter, and Anisha Mir, Tatiana Maslany together, all acting together. What a treat. And I forgot how good Tatiana Maslany was. I loved her in this episode.
She is amazing in everything she does. Everything she does. There is nothing out there from her that is bad. She is always amazing.
I've been told I have to watch Orphan Black. I have not done so.
Oh, if
you haven't watched Orphan Black? What is wrong with you?
If you ever need, a list of all the ways that Tatiana Maslany is excellent, Orphan Black will show it to you in great detail.
Excellent. Well, it's on my list, and I look forward to it for sure. So, yeah. But yeah. So there's the two major things going on. There's the stuff aboard the Athena, and then there's the stuff aboard the other part of the Athena. I guess the atrium trial stuff and the stuff with the cadets. What should we talk about first? I'm gonna let you guys pick that one.
Stuff's going on the ship.
Yeah.
on the Athena.
Which part of the Athena?
The saucer, okay?
Saucer. We'll go saucer and atrium.
Okay. So saucer story first. I love, first of all, I think this is the absolute best showcase of Jet Reno's character that we've gotten in Discovery or Starfleet Academy. I love Tig Notaro in this role. I love her in command. I love her moments where she's, turning them into teachable moments and asking the cadets questions. Like, her affect while she's in command was just so good and so much fun to watch.
She is able to do what I like to say is the teacher on a field trip that goes wrong. Um, Basically, she's got to keep this group of kids. She needs to keep their heads screwed on straight, and you don't keep a group of kids heads screwed on straight if your head is not screwed on straight. And she almost kind of pulls that, like, yeah, I'm kind of bored with the idea that we're all going to die in a minute here, but using a little bit of humor, getting in the odd jab on a few of them every now and again too, and really trying to pull those kids, like, drag in certain cases, especially when it came to Raimi, drag them into where their talents are, and to be able to kind of get kids to see what they're about, on a complete lark and a bit of a rabbit hole. Sorry, both of you and everyone listening. I've never actually played on a volleyball team, but I've coached like 7, maybe 9 volleyball teams in my teaching career, because I got voluntold once that that's the thing I had to do, and so I had to learn everything about volleyball. And it's very much like a crew, right? If one person drops the ball, the ship blows up. If one person drops the ball in the game, you lose a point. It can start compounding on itself. And I remember, I had it was a situation. We were playing for the semi-final game for districts, and I mean, the stakes weren't that high. It was just districts, right? The kids would then go to zones and then provincials and so on, or maybe it was the other way around. Zones was after districts. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We were down probably, I think, 15 points. And so I called a timeout, and I just went from kid to kid saying, like, this is what you're good at. This is what you're capable of. I've seen you do it before. And just being kind of calm and talking a little bit about them. And when they, I can't do it and stuff, I just give them a jab, and yeah, we turned the game around and won. And I remember very, very much feeling like, it was their victory, but I was able to talk them into winning. It was their talent, but I was able to reveal to them what their talents truly were. And it was my team, but they were the ones who made it great. And that is exactly how I saw Jet Reno treat these kids. And as an educator, Jet's the best, for me. I absolutely loved the way that scene panned out. It was extremely good writing, extremely good acting, and they did a lot without a lot of action. It was all dialogue, and it was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I love how Reno doesn't really have an ego with these kids. Reno absolutely knows everything that she's capable of, and that's why Stamets was so annoyed by her. She absolutely knew everything that she was capable of, and she displayed it, not in a way to show off. She just goes about her job like she's supposed to. She does what she does, and having her in command is one of the greatest gifts that this episode has to give, because she is just absolutely, she can somehow just put herself in the place of these kids and know what she has to tell each of them to get them motivated. And it's not like she's telling them any secrets. She's just bringing out, like Barry said, what they actually can do. And once they have her confidence, that changes everything for these kids, especially after that disaster of a simulation on the bridge, which was referenced in this episode. Yeah. And she's patient. Have you ever seen her shout? No.
No,
Never seen her shout, never even seen her get angry. And she is still, at the same time, extremely empathetic. She can understand what these kids are going through because she's been through something similar. I mean, she's from a whole different century, for heaven's sake. But
Mhm.
but she fits in. She's the kind of person that can fit in absolutely anywhere. But I'm so glad that this is where she gets to make her big stand, even though to her, it's just they're doing what they have to do. She's not thinking about being a hero. She's not thinking about accolades, none of that. She is thinking about getting everybody out of this alive. That is her goal. That is what she is tasked to do. And these kids are going to help her, and they're going to do it right, and it's going to be great. And just Reno, I love her so much. Tig Notaro, I love Tig Notaro so much. I loved her before this series even started. I loved her before I knew she was going to be in Discovery. And I love her even more today because Star Trek, it's like anyone who appears in my favorite show is definitely going to win my heart forever. So, well, maybe not anyone, but you know what I mean. So
Fair.
this is just a fantastic example of being a teacher and a leader at the same time and not confusing the two, which is not exactly easy to do. But Reno, she makes everything look easy.
Yeah.
She does. I think one other thing I want to bring up is I think that between Reno and Genesis, I think that is truly what gets Caleb to pull up his big boy britches and really start dealing with the man he is becoming. And I think it gives him permission to fail. I think he doesn't give himself a lot of permission in that sense. And I think again that little quiet exchange in engineering between Mir and Reno was what really turned the tide. And again, you know, those little heart to hearts, those little moments, and she reads them well. She's like, I know who you are. I saw who you are the second you made that decision to go back to your friends. And she's right. Like, I mean, in reality, a lot of people would shirk the danger of going back to save someone if it meant you could be free and go and do your own thing. As much as I think TV kind of convinces us otherwise, I think it actually is somewhat uncommon to turn around and go try to save your friends, right? I think a lot of people will actually save themselves if given the opportunity. And I know that's maybe like a cynical thing, but at the same time, it's the opposite of that in the sense that Caleb, when you meet people who you know will turn around and come back for you, those are the people you want on your bridge. And I'm kind of making analogies here. That's who you need to look for, right? And Reno was good to do that because I think Caleb didn't believe that of himself, and all he needed was someone to tell him and someone in authority to tell him. And it was a wonderful, wonderful little exchange there. Whoever wrote the dialogue for the bridge, that whole vignette within it, I want to high five them. Fantastic dialogue.
Yeah. I'm very glad you brought that scene up because that's what was foremost on my mind was, that moment where, you know, she's lived in 2 different centuries. And let me tell you, very few people that, you know, when I asked you to tell me who you are, you have now told me who you are. I love that these little moments throughout the season that they're calling back to that shows that they had this idea, they had this overarching story they wanted to tell, and we're setting things up right from the off, right? Really makes me happy. And of course, everything you just said also makes me think, look for the helpers, right? That's something that we were taught at a young age by, that was Mr. Rogers, I believe, had that as one of his famous sayings. And it's echoing right now. And I really hope a lot of people that tuned into those messages have kept those messages close to their heart and are learning now when you need to listen to those messages. Anyway, fight fascists. Anyway.
Yes, fight fascism, please do.
USS Fred Rogers, please.
Oh, yes. I would be 100% behind that. That would
Let's
be
have
cool.
that. Yeah.
Diplomatic ship.
Yeah. Ooh, perfect. Love this. Want this now.
No.
Yeah. Star Trek, Fred Rogers.
Ooh.
You can throw us in the credits. It's all good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. That idea is free. You can have it.
Yeah. Based on a
All yours.
concept by Barry DeFord, Dan Gunther, and Brandi Jackola.
Awesome. Well, we can't talk about what's going on the Athena without talking about the Doctor as well. And he comes back from his little stint in the Athena's computer, a little out of sorts. Reminded me of a couple things: the aphasia virus on Deep Space Nine, where everybody was kind of speaking gibberish, and also maybe I saw this online. Maybe his program got switched to Temerian, and they just need to pick that off.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
I like that. So, yeah, he's speaking what seems to be gibberish, but turns out to actually be um, him trying to give them a message, but I guess lacking the tools to do so coherently now because of this issue with his program. Um, I I feel like that sort of acting is very difficult to do. Like, that's one thing. If you go back and watch the Deep Space Nine episode Babel, you can tell who are the veteran actors and who are, I wouldn't say weaker actors, but the less experienced actors. Like Cole Meany just powers through those words. He's like, close the reverse harbor, blah blah blah. It's just like you actually believe he's trying to communicate something. Sirach Lofton, who at the time was, a 13-year-old kid, not a lot of experience, like he has to pause before every word and kind of struggles. It's tough to do, I think. And Robert Picardo, I loved him in this. The glue on the shoe. He's just like desperately trying to communicate this. It was really well done.
Yeah.
It really was, because you could see like his facial expressions as he's saying the words. He's just like, no, this is not right. And he's trying so hard to say the thing he needs to say, and he can't. And it's frustrating him, but also he's starting to get agitated, because if he doesn't get this right, they're all gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's masterful. It's masterful to watch Robert Picardo do this. I love it.
It actually kind of reminded me of a real event. So in both instances where my grandmother had a stroke, I was actually the first responder, and she was talking like that, like very similar. Like she said she needed her pills. She was calling them bells. I remember the door was the jor, and she was almost kind of rhyming as she was talking, and was like looking at me like, why don't you understand what I'm saying? And stuff. And so like for me, I was kind of like, wonder if Bob Picardo's ever seen anybody have a stroke, because he is definitely like hitting me with some reality here. Folks, there's forget the word for it is, but if someone ever starts talking like that, definitely look for medical attention. Have them put both hands up like this, and if their left starts to drop, yeah, you're going to want to call emergency medical services. But no,
That's really
and I
good
feel
to
like
know.
to
Thank
some
you for that.
yeah, sorry, just to be like, hold on. But I get, yeah, and getting agitated and everything. And I feel like very much what the doctor did actually kind of caused him to have something of a sort of a stroke, kind of like it was sort of like a stroke that he had, and he was trying to help as he was working through that. But again, yeah, Bob Picardo really like visceral. It was jolly in the way he was doing it in his usual way, but there was a very lot of seriousness, and obviously the stakes were incredibly high that he was trying to convey with them after his programming had been all messed up as it was. And I really felt like it gave Sam a chance to exercise her new character a lot more. It gave her a lot more depth and texture, which I really appreciated. I've really loved Sam's arc in all of this, and they tied it up very, very nicely. And I'm glad they didn't kill the doctor. I was a little worried there for a hot minute.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that. Oof.
I think everyone knew that there would be riots in the streets if anyone ever killed the doctor. So, yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Sam, because I thought her story was very interesting in this, and especially on a second watch. I really picked up on some things that that I really appreciated about her character. So yeah, there's the her dealing with her dad, which every time she refers to the Doctor as dad, my heart melts a little bit. I think that's really awesome that relationship has been created there. Her genuine worry for him, and now, admittedly, something that I didn't think of, a stroke analogy kind of thing, lends even more to that relationship as she's worried about her dad in sickbay there. But also, it occurs to me that, like, the last couple episodes, she's been spending time kind of berating her past self and cutting that self of her off and saying that it embarrasses her to remember how she acted and that sort of thing. But then compare that to after she succeeds in taking control of that signal and just screaming, let's go, and jumping in the captain's chair and hugging Reno and just screaming. And then again, at the very end of the episode, where she joins her cadet friends at the window of the atrium there, she's acting very much like her old self. She's kind of embracing that side of her again, which I definitely caught in the, let's go scene, but I didn't recognize that at the end she's acting more like her old self there. And I really like that she's like, she's obviously different, she's grown a lot, she's had a lot of new experiences, but she's also embracing her past self a little bit more, which again, speaking of things that warm my heart.
I think what I didn't
Yeah.
like about Sam's character, now that I think about it, is that I acted a lot like Sam when I was younger. I was a
Mm.
little too, out there, very gregarious, so maybe a little too in your face. And I stepped on a bunch of rakes, you could say, to kind of get taught not to be that way. And for a long time, I resented that old self. You bring up something very kind of personal in that for me as well, Dan. And I like that about her, that, now I think that gregarious side of me I allow to come back in a more measured way, and with the right people. But no, that was a great arc for her to come around that way.
Mm.
Yeah, I have experience with those kind of feelings as well. I am still a very introverted person despite appearances. And it just trying to fit in was a daily battle because bullying was a daily experience. And that happened not only at school, but at work and sometimes even at home. And so it was something I could not escape from, and there were so many things that I wanted to say, so many things I wanted to do, things I wanted to explore, and I never gave myself the chance to do that. And so when it started to be an older woman, not older like not like I am now, but when I was in my 20s, I was looking back at all of that and thinking, "Why were you so stupid? Why were you so this? Why were you so that?" And there was a situation that I went through that got me into therapy, and I was shown all of the things through therapy, and not by someone saying this, that, the other. My therapist was amazing at just saying, why do you feel this way? What are you thinking? That sort of thing, and letting me figure it out, with her just giving me little help along the way. And so I had to come to terms with that older me, and I did. And now I, I just I want to hug her. I want to hug that past me and say, "You were okay." God, I didn't think I was gonna get emotional.
It's okay.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
No, not at all.
So, and so when Sam is saying all these things about how she didn't like herself, her past self, how she didn't respect herself, I just wanted to go to her and just hug her and say, "Oh, honey, no, you were amazing and you still are." But, and that's the thing. Genesis does that. She just goes
Mhm.
directly to her and she just hugs her. And I love that so much because Genesis is going through her own stuff. But it doesn't matter because this is her friend. She loves her friend. She's going to take care of her friend. And is that not just the core of being human? Is to just take care of each other? At least it should be that way, don't you think? The world wouldn't represent that now, but I mean, it seems to me like that's our goal in our lives, just to care about people. Care about people, experience things. Just go do that, please.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciated that scene between Genesis and Sam as well. I thought that was that was the perfect tone. Again, this is that episode that, like, there's some episodes of Star Trek, especially like we've seen in recent years, when they're in the middle of a crisis and everything stops so they can have like an emotional moment or something. I never felt like that in this episode. Like, everything was very well paced out, I think, for like, it all made logical sense to me. There was no moment where it took me out of the story where I was like, well, wait, should they be dealing with this right now? What's going on? But that's good writing, I think, that gives it that balance there for sure. I guess probably the final little bit to talk about with regards to the stuff happening with this group would be, we touched on it very briefly, but Caleb and Terima kind of realizing that her abilities are a gift and not something that is just destructive. It can be constructive as well, and it's used in finding Anisha and, by proxy, Nuspraka, finding their location this time around. It was, I kind of, that was the one thing where I felt like up until that point, you could kind of tell in the episode that Terima was just kind of there, like being kept in the back pocket until it was like, okay, now we need Terima's thing. Now we can use her. Whereas before, earlier on the bridge, she was just kind of there and not really doing a ton. The very, very, very slim minor complaint with regards to this episode was I just wanted a little bit more, but then of course we get the payoff towards the end with her and her abilities there, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, again, I'll just say I was right about the inhibitor.
100%.
but the thing is that Terima has been told for so long that without this inhibitor, she's dangerous. You should never, ever say that to a child. But she's grown up this way. She has grown up being told, no, you're dangerous. You have to wear this. How do you think that warped her mind about herself, about the people around her? And I think the only person who really truly supported her, no matter what, outside of not including, anyone else at Starfleet Academy, is Occam. He is the best brother. He is the best, and he's such a goofball, and I love him dearly, and I miss him in this episode. Yeah. He's like one of my favorite characters, sometimes characters who's on the show. But and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, Terima's not doing much because she's just existing. She's just like, there's nothing I can do except for, I can man this station. That's what she's doing. But it's Caleb that says, this is you. You're the only person who can do this. And you're not dangerous. And, and just that, seeing that was so liberating. Because when you've been told your whole life that you're something that is bad without protection, you just come to believe that, whether it's true or false. And to have him be the one to finally say, no, this is not who you are. You are powerful. You are amazing. And you can do this. There is no one else who can do this. Please do this. It's just, it was everything. And you can even see at the end of the episode how comfortable she is now. Without that freaking inhibitor. She doesn't put it back on. It's not on her anymore. And she's just going about her daily life like everybody else. And that is how it should have been all along. But we at least get that in this episode.
Absolutely.
I feel very strongly about your discussion throughout this series, Jackie, about Brandi. Sorry, Jackola. I was thinking Jackola.
I
Brandi,
get
about
that
the
all the time. I get it all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. I think that's what Tarima's arc is, and I guess like sort of like semi hot take, like they could have completely rewrote this entire first season with Tarima as the main character breaking free of her inhibitor. And I mean, I don't know if that would make for like compelling television to do the entire first season again, but from Tarima's perspective. But it could be a radio show. I'm just saying, like they like to do that would be, I think, a really fascinating exploration of her, because she didn't get a lot to do as much in this last episode, but she has done a lot in this season. And I know Caleb kind of takes the main character position here, but she gets, I don't know, she gets very close to kind of main character energy in certain points, and I feel like they had to kind of make her do less to kind of pull the stakes between Caleb and his mom a little more directly. One thing that I did quite enjoy was, again, Star Trek mixing its science and its woo a little bit. She effectively remote views, and I have a fascination with remote viewing. I don't know if I believe it's true or not. Please don't quote me on being like, oh, Barry thinks remote viewing is real. What a weirdo. I would just say that it's really interesting to look into it. I also like Bigfoot. And if I look out my window, I might see Bigfoot. I'm in the middle of the woods right now. And thankfully, there are no rakes for me to step on and go, whoosh. Thank you, Bimessa Berwin there on that one. But anyways, no, I feel really cool about yeah, there we are. That was good. That was really good. Anyways, I love the fact that yeah, effectively she remote viewed her way into it, but the reason behind it was the trust that Caleb gives her. And I think that ultimately does it. And yeah, there's again, the comment section has been all killer, no filler. You guys are great. I love looking at your points. Like, honestly, you watch us, but actually I'm totally watching you guys. You've got some really good points. I think all together, that's what makes this live show so good. But Ricky, you did it. I agree with you. The entire episode is about trust. Reno trusting the cadets, Caleb trusting Tarima, Anisha Mir trusting Ake, Sam and Genesis trusting. Like, this is, it all rolls on itself. And actually, I think if we just started really trusting each other to do the right thing and then went and did the right thing, I feel like a lot of our problems would start disappearing.
Wow.
Agree 100%.
That might be my new like philosophical underpinning. I like that.
Yeah.
Trust people to do the right thing and do the right thing. Doesn't get much simpler than that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess one last thing I want to talk about this part of the episode is boy, the warping into the gas giant and then emerging from the clouds right out of Star Trek 09, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there were some things where I'm like, I've seen this before. But I'm not complaining.
No, not at all.
It was beautiful.
That
it was
gorgeous.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Loved it.
If you're gonna borrow stuff like that. Like, that's mwah, chef's kiss.
Absolutely. Oh, one quick thing that I want to say too before we leave the bridge is that Sam makes a Malcolm Reed reference. She says pineapple cake. She's talking about pineapple cake.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like
a pineapple cake.
Malcolm Reed. Backdoor Malcolm Reed reference. Woot! Love it.
I like it. All right, let's move, I guess, to the trial, the happenings in Athena's atrium, which has been commandeered by Noose Braka and his Venari Rawl forces. To me, I was gonna say the heart of the episode, but it's split equally between these two parts. Actually, now that we've discussed it, I'm like, man, I did love a lot about the stuff on the Athena as well. I think I was kind of enraptured by the performances, of course, of Paul Giamatti and Holly Hunter and Tatiana Maslany as this kind of three-person play plays out at the podium here, as New Spraka is trying to win the galaxy to his side, basically by arguing about the crimes of the Federation, assigning Anisha Mir as the judge and jury and of Ake and the Federation. I don't know, there's so much going on here. We've got a little bit of a peek into New Spraka's past, how he grew up, how his worldview is shaped and continues to be shaped, as we learn, by the child that he was and what he saw as a child. It humanizes him a little bit initially, and then you realize kind of what he's done with that knowledge and what he's built with it, and the house of sand that it's built upon, I guess. It was really fascinating how that gets built up and then taken apart later by Ake and Caleb together, as they're kind of poking holes in this and revealing it to be this complete fabrication of what actually happened. And also a bit of a peek into the post-burn society and what all of that was like, which I think is something we haven't played with in Star Trek very much, except for, these kind of more recent years. And it's interesting to see what we saw in the 24th century as this huge utopia, and like what happens when that all gets inverted and how do you get back from that, right? I guess a microcosm of that in our own world would be like kind of the world order that we've seen in the last few decades, kind of being dismantled, taken apart piece by piece, until we find ourselves where we are right now, which is, in my opinion, on a precipice. And it really is still up in the air which way we're going here, but definitely a lot of parallels there. Anyway, I'm rambling.
You're not rambling.
How about you guys?
Go, Barry. Go first, that? Barry. You go first.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Yeah, I guess I like the idea of well, first of all, yeah, the triumvirate of acting went well. It did sort of work like a little stage play to some degree, right? Where you have Mir pacing back and forth, and the kind of the conflicted, Ake has just told her that her son is still alive, and she's got to play this carefully, right? She can't just let loose on the woman she's wanted revenge on for a really long time. That's, I think, my favorite part of this is actually the interchange, the reconciliation that comes between Ake and Mir. That ultimately, Ake already is dead in some ways, right? The loss of her son is something that has destroyed her, and I think there's a realization that Ake mama bared Caleb for as long as his mom was gone. And I think it also kind of turns things back around a little bit in the sense of like, who's actually to blame for all of this, right? There are lifestyle choices. There are things that we do that will have repercussions. And even those in authority won't always make the best choices. But we have to live with those bad choices, and we can't dwell on them, especially if we can and we have the opportunity to move on, to forgive, to rise to the occasion. I think that was a really good piece of it. I guess for me, this masterful tactician who is capable of surrounding the entire Federation with mines, I'm guessing he used some kind of time dilating weapon or something like that to do it. For him to suddenly switch back around, I feel like a rant would be a lot better and be a better idea for such a well planned person to do his baby like rant after he had completely annihilated his enemies and stuff. But at the same time, obviously they were playing, I think, a little bit for time. I feel like though he was smart in a lot of ways, he does still hold a lot of baggage from his childhood, and I think that does affect a lot of us who don't manage to come through to the other side of that. I mean, Brandi, you talked about yourself and how much you wanted to give your younger self a hug. That's a very meaningful way of looking at what was a difficult a difficult upbringing, a difficult childhood. To be able to look back with those kinds of eyes, I think shows what real maturity means. And it indicates that he doesn't have that maturity. He doesn't have that ability. And it makes me see him more, less of a brilliant tactician and more of a dog chasing cars. And I feel like he got the car and had no idea what to do with it. And I guess it just felt a little out of character from what I'd seen so far. But because he did kind of like Paul Giamatti just sort of ran around like a lot. Like he was just like, because I think he didn't know what to do with himself. He had all this, wait, what? You're alive still? Oh, my goodness, you're like Lazarus, but female and shorter. That was
but shorter and a girl is how he puts it.
Yeah, shorter and a girl. Yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, I liked the kind of bonk on the head little political messages that would have come, would have actually sort of, they wrote this long before our current situation, meaning they kind of ripped from the headlines of the future. They were able to kind of pinpoint where things were going to very likely go in our world today. And again, I think that's very perceptive of them to do. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of where I want to sort of end it right now. Is I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, but at the same time, I still enjoyed myself. And yeah, the triumvirate of acting was very strong. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, News Baraka is basically an angry toddler who hasn't gotten enough sleep and has had all his toys taken away from him. That's basically his attitude throughout this entire series, through this season. But the thing is that he knows enough stuff to, act like he's the one who knows everything. He's the one who's always going to win, etc., etc., etc. Even when deep down he has a lot of unresolved stuff that he hasn't even touched yet. So, and that's not saying that I feel bad for him exactly, but I do feel like he's never going to grow up. I feel like he's always going to have this childish look on things, and he's always going to blame other people for his own problems, for problems that he created even for himself. And and that's pretty much how he acts during a lot of this trial, especially when it comes down to Anisha and Nala talking to each other. And oh my word, what a masterclass of acting between the two of them. Just them going back and forth, and how easily Tatiana Maslany can go from angry to a tear just coming out of her eye and running down her face. And just, how does she do that? How do either of them do that? Holly Hunter's facial expressions, like there are times where she seems completely gutted, absolutely destroyed, and then she comes back strong and brilliant and still empathetic. And it's just, that whole scene between the two of them was probably my most favorite part of all of that side of the story, was just those two together. Because I'm like, do you not realize how much of a powerhouse the two of you are together, instead of, one trying to fight the other? Because honestly, Nala is not the one with the grudge. But she understands, and she's empathetic towards Anisha, and that is the true strength of a woman or anyone who is like Nala, is giving them grace, understanding, having empathy, and yet still standing your ground. Mm-hmm. That is a very difficult balance to strike, and these two women are absolutely brilliant at portraying it. And I can't give them enough. I want to hug both of them and just tell them how great they are. That's what I want to do. I want to just hug both of them. And so that was actually the best part of it. And the fact that she uses Caleb to destroy News Baraka. It's amazing.
To show how much he's learned. Yeah.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, because she can't do it herself. She has to have the avatar of Caleb, because Caleb is part of this. Caleb is definitely part of this. And she's just like, what do you know? Did you take this class? What do you know about strontium? Tell me what you know about strontium. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is it. This is the end game right here. And just the way he throws a tantrum when everybody hears the truth and they just start blipping out, their holograms just start blipping out. He just has a fit. He has a fit like a child, because his mind is like a child. He doesn't have the maturity or the knowledge to be anything but that. That is all he is.
Really strongly reminds me of someone. I wish I could put my finger on it. Oh well.
Surely nobody we've ever heard of.
No, I don't think so.
Nobody with any real meaningful power.
No, certainly not.
No, absolutely not. No.
The back and forth individually between Ake and Anisha Mir, that to me is the real core of this whole scene here. I love, because I've been talking to some people, and one friend of mine recently I corresponded with, who really is not liking Starfleet Academy. And I respect that opinion. I respect his arguments and stuff. And one of the things he just couldn't get over was the setup for the show. The fact that this captain would put this woman in prison and separate her from her child for stealing food. And I'm like, please watch the season finale. Like, when you get to that scene and Ake starts talking about the officer who died, a true red shirt, right? Like a red shirt in the sense of Star Trek, a nameless, at the time, faceless person who was killed in a robbery, a shuttle pilot. It's mentioned in the premiere as the reason for, the charges and stuff, but we don't get anything about who that officer is until this episode. And we learn all about him and where he's from. Akama Lee is his name. And that to me, like, the pain of the death of that officer, and the fact that that officer died not necessarily at Anisha Mir's hand, but because of actions that she took, really reframes that and really puts that in a context that is a lot more understandable. Now, obviously, the separation of the two of them and all of that, way over the top, and it was something that Ake didn't agree with, and all of that. But it's more understandable now, the circumstances that led to that, and the fact that, yes, Anisha Mir was wronged, but she was not innocent in all of this. And I think Mir realizes that and takes that into herself as well. And that's the brilliance of Tatiana Maslany's acting in that as well. So that to me really got to me. I loved that part of the episode. I thought the performances there were just incredible. Yeah, I just I hadn't given any more thought to that shuttle pilot that was mentioned in the premiere than Anisha Mir did until this episode. And wow, yeah, they got me with that.
Same.
No. But yeah, sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just, basically the one thing, and there was a comment brought up, and I'm going to see if I can find it here. I don't know how to click on things, so I'll see if I can find it here. Yeah,
Sure.
at TKHUI9 1257 said a darker Starfleet admitting it had bombed the colony and made a lot of mistakes, but now promising to do better would have been more compelling to me. I know we're dealing with a better version of ourselves with Starfleet. And I know we may be leaving, and I don't want to always say this, but we may be leaving Gene Roddenberry's vision when Starfleet makes some pretty major boo-boos. But I feel like Discovery and the Discovery era has inoculated us from that. And I think it was hinted a lot with, you think about Sisko destroying a planet because he was really holding a grudge against Eddington, those kinds of things, right? I do wonder how that would have played out a little differently if the Federation wasn't able to completely absolve itself. Now, I can understand the anger of watching supply ships pass you by, right? When you and your people are also in need, also desire and want certain things, but they were trying to triage things, and I think Ake does a good job of being like, you've got to make these difficult decisions sometimes, right? You want to make sure that you're helping those in most need first, and I think that gets brought up with Caleb as well, right? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? Two very important people or 160 billion very important people. Like, what do you want to pick here, bro? And so I think we can kind of be a main character in our own story a lot, and I think that's where Noose Baraka really goes wrong. But I think that I wonder somewhere if he would have been smart enough to also figure that out at some point, and to have not figured that out is a little unbelievable for me. But I mean, I guess childhood trauma can mask logic in a lot of ways as well, right? So I think the Federation gets a little bit of a get out of jail free card by sciencing their way out of that dilemma that he's been angry about for such a really, really long time. But outside of that, I think that kind of helped me kind of pick up like where my hang up was in that scene. That said, he wanted to humiliate Ake, and I think he had his chance, right? He says that earlier, like, I just want to ruin your life, right? And Mir wants to ruin Ake's life, right? That everyone wants to be mad at her, because I think it's also convenient to be mad at the person kind of at the front of that, who's being sort of the face of that greater entity, in this case the Federation. And I think Ake handles that very, very well, in the sense that she's able to talk her way through her personal perspective on everything, right? That there are human beings behind any sort of major humanitarian grouping of people who are having to make difficult decisions. And I think any of us who've ever been in leadership positions, we've had to make difficult decisions that we may quietly regret. And I think Ake was finally able to kind of reckon with some of that.
Yeah, no, very good points for sure. I also feel like even if Noose Baraka had figured that out at some point, I don't think he wanted to figure that out. Like, he would have,
No.
I think he would have even convinced himself that, of whatever he wanted to believe. And the Federation as the scapegoat is what he wanted to believe. And I don't think anything would have
absolutely
dissuaded him from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Nah. One thing I want to say about Caleb's bit in this as well, as a newcomer to acting, holds his own in this scene as well with these powerhouse actors. I think he's done an incredible job all season. And maybe it's a little bit pat, and maybe it gets the Federation a little bit of a get out of jail free card, but I think his speech about what Starfleet is does a way better job of answering the question, what is Starfleet, than the Strange New Worlds episode of the same name did. Like, I think this is the answer when you get the question, what is Starfleet? Just his speech there. I was like, I like that. Again,
absolutely.
maybe a little bit too, wrapped up in a bow, and they're always good, but I liked it. Old school Trekkie and me liked that.
Same.
No. Well, yeah, so we get to see the arrest of Baraka and his people broadcast for everybody. That was all very satisfying. I will say
little dentistry takes place there.
A little. That's what I wanted to mention was
surprise dentistry.
After all of the thing about how good Starfleet is and how awesome Starfleet is, Anisha Mir gets her hit in on Baraka, and like, okay, but you've got a restrained prisoner, and Captain Ake takes a swing at him too, and I'm like, maybe not the most ethical treatment of a prisoner who's in custody, but damn, was it satisfying. So okay.
It really was, especially because it was the ladies. Ladies took him down, broke a tooth. Yes, love it, love it. Do
Yeah.
not mess with the ladies.
And that was his gold tooth too, I think, right? He ended up spitting out.
Yep.
Whew. Yeah. And from there, yeah, we get the wrap up. There's going to be a private reception with the president. I actually thought we might get President Lara Rilek again show up, but we don't get to see her. Caleb's going to be traveling with his mom over the summer break, and very much sounds like he's returning to Starfleet Academy in the fall. We get our promised Discovery cameo. It flies past the window as the cadets are all gathering there. I saw you. That was cool. This is where, again, Sam, I think some of her previous traits come out a little bit there. It was wonderful to see Caleb's first cadet's log to close out the season. And then Beautiful Child by Rufus Wainwright playing over the closing credits, over the childhood pictures of the cast. I loved that. I pulled at my heartstrings and I loved it.
They were all so cute.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, technically Robert Picardo's was a bit older than Kid, but
well, I think the oldest one was Vance, because
that's true.
Oh, his jawline, oof, he's good looking.
Oded Fair is a god. Just I don't know. I glommed onto him when I first saw The Mummy, and I have not let go and never will. I just love him. I love him.
Yeah. I've seen that movie listed on many people's lists of bisexual awakenings. The Mummy.
Excellent. Love that.
Rachel Weisz and Oded Fair. I mean, throw in Brendan Fraser. I mean, come on.
Yeah, just yeah. Man, that makes me want to watch The Mummy again.
By the way, so it is definitely worth pausing and reading all of the little information cards for each of them. I'm not going to go through them all here by any stretch, but my favorite, I think, was they showed the Athena computer voice, and then Stephen Colbert, and then Tig Notaro's was after them, and her listed number one peeve was, why do I come after the two voices? And the answer, of course, is because your agent negotiated that you come there because you get an and Tig Notaro credit. So, but anyway,
love that.
And that's I guess where we leave season 1. So, final thoughts and ratings for Rubincon, and I guess the season as a whole. But yeah, how did you think this ended up? Did they stick the landing? I think I know the answer to that, but
go Barry, go.
Okay. So I'll start with the episode. I would say that, again, whatever hangups I have, I mean, we could all go to the restaurant and try the same dish, and some people may like certain aspects. I like the olives more, you like the mustard more, or whatever. I'm picking stuff that people typically don't like here. Honestly, this was a good ending to a great season. And I think what makes it a great season is there is aspects of it where I feel like Star Trek was trying to be a lot of what was famous in the moment. Like the first 2 seasons of Discovery were really like Game of Thrones in space to me. 2009 Trek tried a lot to be Star Wars-ish, and obviously we all know how that panned out with Star Wars later. And I feel like this is Star Trek after Strange New Worlds kind of hit it, get it, and how Lower Decks brought a bit more self-awareness, and Discovery did a lot of reinvention, that we were able to see something uniquely Star Trek that was different from other Star Trek. And that's what I've been looking for a long time. If I want to see high action and all these other sorts of things, I'll go to the other franchises that already have those things. I need Star Trek to do its thing. And I was really, really happy to see Star Trek try something a little bit different. You know, this wasn't Saved by the Bell in space. This wasn't Dawson's Creek in space or Beverly Hills 90210 in space. It had aspects of those things. But it was uniquely its own self. And I'm looking forward to the next season very much. So episode, I will give 7 Omega particles out of 10. And the season, I will give it 9 saucer sections out of 10 atriums.
Wow. I like that. That's a really good rating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the episode, I think it's clear that I loved it. And I really appreciated it. I really appreciate everyone in this cast. I don't feel like there's a weak link anywhere, really. Everybody does their job and does it well. If I hadn't known anything about Sandro Rasta, I would think he'd been acting for years. He is really good at it. He's a natural. His facial expressions alone, just when he kind of just does this half smile, and then when he does a full smile, and just all of these things, he's so good for being as inexperienced as he is, and awfully good to look at. So sorry, I'm not objectifying him. I'm just appreciating him. There's a difference. So, I love the cast in this episode. I love the cast in the season. I think this was one of the, I said it before, I think this is one of the strongest season finales I've ever seen in Star Trek overall. And that is saying a lot, because there is a lot of seasons of Star Trek. There are a lot of episodes of Star Trek. We're approaching 1,000. We are so close to 1,000 that I know that is a high thing to say, but that's the way I feel. I was just blown away by how well they stuck the landing, and by how well they got themselves out of their trouble that they got themselves into. And it just, the entire season, I'll admit, and again, I've said this before, I'll admit that when I first heard that they were going to do a Starfleet Academy series, I'm like, why do I want to watch kids go to school? That was my first thought. Why do I want to watch kids go to school? I wasn't exactly excited about it. And I still kind of felt that way until we started seeing little teasers for Starfleet Academy. And I'm like, oh, I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong. And as the series started and progressed, I went, what a stupid thing to have thought, that watching kids go to school would be boring. Just, I think it's a magnificent, a magnificent story through this season, but also it's taking its place already at the top, tier of my list of Star Trek seasons and of Star Trek series in general. So, yeah, I know I'm saying a lot of good things. And yes, I know that there are some things that people don't like, and that's fine. There are things that I don't like about other things that people think are great, and that's okay. We all have different opinions. I am never going to be upset with anyone for not liking or liking something. It's never going to be my thing. So, for this episode, I'm going to give this one Anisha Mir dressed like a dark Jedi. And for the entire season, I am going to give this one big, I love watching kids go to school.
Awesome. I love, Brandi, that you had an arc over this season as well.
Yes, I did. I had an arc.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I thought this finale was very strong. There's a lot of tropes that they have to hit because it's a season finale, but again, like I said, I don't think they hit them as hard as some other ones have before, and I think this was a very well balanced episode, and managed through big Federation ending events to still keep the focus on character, which I think like had to be a directive, I think, when planning out this episode. Like it feels like that was their guiding light through this episode, and I really appreciated that. The character moments in this are so strong and so much fun to watch, and I love when it has something to say, and I think this episode does have something to say, perhaps a little bit bonk bonk on the head, but I don't know. Have you seen it out there? I think people need some bonk bonks on the head, guys. I think they need them very badly. I don't know. I don't know what it takes to get people to get it, but yeah. Anyway, that needs to happen. I will say one thing I didn't mention is that I kind of love that Noose Braka's idea of kind of formalizing him up for the occasion is just waxing his mustache so it goes like that.
Yeah.
It's like, this is formal me.
I forgot about that. That's great.
I had it in my notes to mention, but I forgot. But yeah, so I'm gonna give this finale one heavily waxed mustache. That's my ranking for this finale. For the series as a whole, I'm gonna say 8 incredibly well developed characters that I can't wait to see more of next year. 8 is a number I kind of pulled out of my head. I'm not sitting down and counting right now, but I feel like that's about right. Anyway, somebody in the comments, yes, Ricky, more Thok, Occam, and Kyle in season 2, please. 100%. Yeah. This is again an argument for or against the fact that there's only 10 episodes. Like, there's so much that they had to kind of quickly get through. Like in this episode, for example, when they talk about the made-up language that Sam and Genesis speak, I was like, oh yeah, I remember them mentioning that for 5 seconds in the premiere. And that was it, right? Like, that would have been a cool thing to see kind of peppered through the season had there been 15, 16, however many episodes, right? But you don't have that luxury. Those secondary characters, one of the huge reasons why Deep Space Nine, one of the many huge reasons why Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek, is their huge cast of secondary characters. When you only have 10 episodes to spend with your characters, that's not going to be as big a thing. So I don't know what the solution to that is. I know we're in a different world now, but like, boy, there's some things that we've thrown out with that bathwater of more episodes that I would really like back. But anyway, yeah, overall for the series, loved it. I think also one of the strongest first seasons of certainly new Star Trek, and maybe a lot of old Star Trek as well. Very, very strong. So, all of the fingers crossed for a third season. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Yeah. And Aaron, I had that thought too. I do wonder if Peli is still kicking around. She lived for thousands of years, right? So this is just another 1,000.
Wasn't she like 5,000 or something?
Yep. So she'd only be 5,900 at this point.
Yeah, that's still pretty young. Still pretty young for a
young little whippersnapper.
For a Lanthonite. I think that's good. Yeah, basically she's a kid. Yeah. Well, she acts like one for sure.
100%. Well, I guess that's it for this season. And that's it for Positively Unready for a little while. Presumably once we know a date for season 4 of Strange New Worlds, which is coming sometime this year, we'll be back talking about it here. But until then, you can catch me and Barry on the Positively Trek podcast going forward. I have some plans for some more videos on this channel here that I'm in the works putting together. I know it's been a little quiet here, except for the live streams and podcasts and stuff. Brandi, you and Dave are still doing shield podulation and will be for many, many years if my math is right.
Yeah.
What episode are you doing next?
Well, thank you for asking, Dan. we are going back to TOS now that we've opened that up finally randomly. We're getting back in there, and we're going to be doing season 2, episode 7, the Wolf in the Fold, which is funny
Ooh.
because while I was writing it, I wrote Wolf in the Folder. Don't know why. I just kept
Put that
going.
in with the Rubincon.
Folder. Yeah, exactly. So and unfortunately now I'm always going to think of it as Wolf in the Folder because that's the way my brain works. So Wolf in the Folder coming up later today.
So without asking you if you've already watched it or remember which episode that is or not.
No, I do not remember which episode it is because titles very rarely remind me of which episode it is.
Okay.
And we have not watched it yet. We'll be doing that with lunch, actually. So
All right. Well, I won't say anything then. Enjoy.
just don't say anything because I love going back to TOS and just being surprised.
Absolutely.
She's like, oh, that's this one. Oh, I like that. Or sometimes like, ugh. There's a few episodes. Well, okay, season 3 is a whole lot of
I still maintain And the Children Shall Lead is the worst hour of Star Trek in all 950, however many episodes there are.
Yep.
With some close contenders also.
I think we're very close to 960 at this point. Excuse me. But yeah, excuse me. We're doing the good and the bad. And frankly, since we've already gotten through Into Darkness, I can handle anything else that is coming my way.
There you go.
Gotten done with that one. Don't ever have to go near it again.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody for your comments. I love all you guys. I can't wait to be doing this again soon, hopefully soon, and hopefully for many, many, many seasons to come. So until next time, thanks for watching. Live long and prosper. And of course, as always, stay positive.